good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever everybody's watching this. It's good to be back. I have some other videos coming. I got some things I want to talk about, but today I just want to discuss like a short video about gold nib pens versus steel nib pens. As I'm sitting here at my desk, journaling as I do around this time in the morning, just trying to, you know, get my thoughts out before I get too heavily invested into work and, off into doing other things, just in the morning, just trying to write after the gym and whatnot, writing down some ideas. I managed to move my fountain pens from my bag to not really like a great place, but I have them in a cup on here, right here on my desk. I have all my pens and things like in this Batman cup that went through the dishwasher and it didn't come out the other side too well, so I don't use it as much as I would like to, but it's found its usefulness as a pen holder for my desk for now, until I can find something different. But enough rambling. The point I'm trying to make is like I reached and I grabbed the Twisby Eco T. This one's filled with the Diamond Oxford Blue. If you've been watching my channel, you know this is my favorite ink ever, just in general. But then I usually will reach and I grab this. So these two pens are usually like right up front, and I'll reach and grab whichever one I grab I write with. And I noticed the difference, but I never really had a side to side comparison of like how one feels versus the other. This pen here is the Pilot Custom Heritage 92 in medium fine, and it does have a gold nib. This is rhodium coated, but it's a gold nib. And I just want to discuss like the differences in how they feel actually, because they do feel like completely different. These both are resin body pens, piston filled. One is Twisby, one is Pilot. But one of the things that I've noticed is just like using these pens side by side, not simply because of the size of the pen or even like the size of the nib being different, because this one's being a fine medium and this one's just being like a regular fine, but these pens feel completely different. Like this pen has a lot of I don't say a lot of feedback, but it has a good amount of feedback, right? When you write with it, like you can hear it when you write with it, and you can feel it in the pen, like it comes out through your hand, and like I can feel it in my elbow when I sit down to write. But this Twisby pen, it's very smooth. It glides very well. It doesn't have a lot of feedback. It doesn't have a lot of flex to it. It's like very, very firm, very stiff. It's almost like what is an analogy for that? It's like, this is almost like race car stiff versus this is like daily driver stiff, right? This is like riding with a Cadillac. You know what I'm saying? How like it's very like it floats a lot. It's very like, this is kind of how I feel when I'm writing this, but this kind of just like straight like that. I guess that's like my analogy, because I like race cars and cars and stuff like that. So if that makes sense to you, let me know in the comments. But I know a lot of people ask like, why should you get a gold nib pen versus a steel nib pen? Because like if we're gonna look at it, like this pen is, you can find this pen for like $90, but this pen is $35 all day. Even at regular price, this pen is almost $300. So if you get it off of Jet Pens, like this pen is like $300. This pen is still like $35. I honestly, I don't know why you will buy a $300 pen versus a $35 pen, unless I found this pen. I wanted the gold nib pen, and I wanted something that was a demonstrator. And if you watch my channel, if you're an old viewer, like you already know how I feel about expensive pens, and expensive pens that don't have any sort of like unique filling mechanism as like a pen, like a piston or something like that. I refuse to spend money on. I refuse to spend $300 on a pen that's a cartridge converter. Like I just feel like it is lazy manufacturing on my part or on the company's part. But I digress. we can get into some writing samples, and I'll let you guys hear and see, or see if you can hear the difference between how these pens write, and you can see the difference as well. They're very different. Not even just in size, but just like in overall, like simply just flex and how it presents the ink on the paper. So just for a comparison, we're gonna write on the exact same paper. This is a Galen leather notebook. It has the 52 gram. It has the 52 gram Tomo River paper. This is the old Tomo River paper, not the Sanzen new paper. So you can't get this particular notebook with this particular paper in it anymore. I don't have the new Tomo River paper. Hopefully soon I'll get one with the new paper, but that's neither here nor there. Just for consistency, I'll start with the Pilot first, and we'll see if you can hear it in here. But they definitely write differently. And I don't know if the microphone will pick up how that sounds when it writes, but it definitely has like feedback, and it has like a scratchiness to it. Not really like a scratchiness, but it's like it has resistance to it. Like you can feel that. But with the TWSBI, it's like you can hear that as well, but like it doesn't feel. It sounds like it has more feedback than it actually feels like, if that makes sense. So that's just the difference. And so that's just the difference, and it sounds like one has more feedback than the other. But at the same time, the feel of the pens, the TWSBI feels smoother. Like it feels like it has less resistance. It glides. It probably puts more ink on the paper in general. I think that might be why it feels a lot smoother, and it feels more buttery across it, because it has more ink on the paper and it doesn't flex as much, right? So it just it just like straight glides across the paper. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's how I feel about it. And maybe it's just a particular pen that I have, because I have noticed that like certain pens, even from the same manufacturer, like they can be like nibs can be inconsistent. I don't want to say inconsistent, but like they can be different, because I mean they're all like individually made batches of steel, batches of nibs made from different batches of pens. So it's like it works differently. Like each of them, none of them are really the same. Like you don't know if I buy this exact same pen from Jet Pens or from Goulet Pens or wherever, it'll feel like a different pen to somebody else, because I bought this pen like years ago, and they have different batches and how the manufacturing works. Same goes with this one as well. And I think a lot of people look at gold nib pens and like they look at the price of them and they're like, yo, this is crazy. But I don't believe that this particular pen or any gold nib pen is a pen for somebody who's just getting into fountain pens. I think that these are definitely entry level pens, not only in price point, but also in just like overall value, because the value of this pen is in the experience, and it has to be not necessarily fine tuned, but you have to find the right combination of things to work with something like this. With this TWSBI pen, for one, it has a ton of ink capacity, and you can literally run anything in it and it just works. This Pilot doesn't have a lot of ink capacity. It's more expensive. The nib is scratchy, and it can feel weird to somebody who's just starting to write with a fountain pen. I would not give this to a new person writing with a fountain pen. That's just my opinion. But then again, you never know. So those are the main differences for me. Like it really just comes down to feel. However you feel the pen feels in your hand. it's all personal preference in my opinion. And I think like it's hard to like really convey that message to a lot of people that it's personal preference, because I think sometimes saying personal preference is like an oversimplification of the experience that you have. But I think that once people get out and write, because I see that a lot in like the fountain pen groups. What's a good beginner pen? What's a good pen to get as a gift and all this type of stuff. And I will always say get a TWSBI Eco for a gift, for a beginner pen, for somebody who even if yourself, if you want to start out, because the barrier for entry is extremely low. There's a ton of colors. It holds a ton of ink, and the value of this pen is just immense, especially at the price point. I would not say, hey, get this Pilot Custom Heritage 92. Some people might not have Amazon Prime, and they're going to jet pens. They're like, yo, this is a $300 pen. I'm not buying that. It's kind of crazy. And then also too, with buying a $300 pen, that comes a certain level of ego with it as well. And sometimes that can lead people down the wrong path of thinking that like their pen's more expensive and it's better because of that. I didn't really get to any sort of conclusion. The pens do feel differently, in my opinion, having both of them and writing with both of them side by side, interchanging them daily. Every one of these pens here feels differently. Like the TWSBI Vac feels differently than the TWSBI Eco. And so does this Eco. As a medium, it feels different than the Eco T and Fine. So, and like this Narwhal feels differently than all of them, because for one, it's a stub, and two, like the pen is a different manufacturer, so they have their own feel to these pens. So they all write differently, they all feel differently. Like this Delta is an extremely smooth pen, but it has like a lot of feedback for a steel nib pen. Honestly, I think that the reason why is because of the thickness of the nib, and so that might have a lot to do with how the pen feels. Because if you look at this pen here, like you can see like the thickness of this nib here, right? So look at that, and then like you can see, like you can look at this, like how this is about like a little bit thicker of a nib as far as like the thickness go, and it might be like how it's made. I'm not sure. Have to do some digging on this nib shape and like how much is rounded off, and how they're actually built affects the feel and the writing experience. Like that, never know. Who knows? Maybe we can nerd out on that on another video. So who knows? This nib is huge, by the way, and I think this is why this feels like writing with a crayon in a sense. Not in a bad way, but like how like you had those big crayons as a kid. That's kind of what it feels like writing with this, especially being that it's a broad nib too. It feels like you got like this massive pen. It's like heavy and stuff in your hands. I like it, honestly. So, but I digress. Either way, I'm rambling. Thank y'all for watching the video. Thank you all for coming back. I have some other things coming. I got a couple letters from people. We're doing some pen pal things. I appreciate everybody coming back to the channel and staying tuned and like staying with me, and all the nice comments from everybody who's been looking forward to these videos and pressing me to get back to it. Thank y'all for y'all support, and see you in the next one.